Welcome to another edition of the Dementia Care Partner Talk Show. Now, here's dementia care expert Teepa Snow and your host, Greg Phelps.
Hello and welcome to the Dementia Care Partners podcast. My name is Greg Phelps. Joining me as usual is dementia care expert Teepa Snow. And Teepa, I was watching one of your newest videos on PSP. What is PSP and what do we need to know about it? Because I just sort of got the whiff of it and I didn't quite get the full story. So here you are.
Okay, so PSP, Progressive Supra-nuclear Palsy.
Now, wait a
Okay.
minute. Shouldn't there be an N in there? PSNP?
No, supra-nuclear is one word. So, progressive, what does that word say to you, Greg?
Well, it means it's going to get worse. That's generally what that one means.
Check. So it's going to get worse. And what's what's important about this one is it tends to get worse fast. So it's a fairly rapidly progressing. So one of the things you'll notice is wow, it keeps moving forward. Whereas many dementias, you have to watch over time to see it progress forward. This one, it doesn't take long to notice, wow, we're having new issues. Wow, we have new issues. Wow, we have new issues. So the progression is highly notable. Supranuclear refers to the area in the brain where is the most damage. So it's affecting the connections between the cortical brain and the primitive brain, particularly in areas of first movement patterns. And so we can confuse it with several other dementias that involve movement pattern shifts. So things like Parkinsonian kinds of phenomena. It could be confused with some of the more atypical frontal parietal lobe issues that might go on with Lewy body dementia. We might confuse it some with changes with language changes, with more of so it might be that we notice changes in ability to produce forceful air production speech. But what we'll really notice is eye gaze. So, and the palsy is this, it's an older word. It means this sort of impact where there's a pattern of movement, that it's phenomena that it was a weird word that you don't move like you should. It's that kind of thing. So progressive supranuclear palsy is where one of the first symptoms is if I ask you to gaze up. What happened when I gazed up, Greg?
Well, you kind of fell over there, Teepa, so I think I'd have you sitting for that test.
So if I look up to get something, the motor skill that you're starting to notice is, whoa, I'm tippy. When my eyes go up, my eyes go down, I might fall forward, I might fall back. I have a lot of trouble with eye gaze up and down, less trouble with left to right. But you will probably notice that you have to ask me to hold my head still and move just my eyes. So crossing the midline, you might see a little bit, but when you do this, that's where you're likely going to see. And it's the doll's eye phenomenon, where my eyes sort of like my eyes roll, my head goes down, but my eyes sort of do this or this. And then the balance issue. So the visual vestibular system is challenged initially, fairly early in the condition.
So I'm going to go slightly out of sequence here, but I see all sorts of danger with falls in this, because as soon as you started tipping back, so I hate to say it and sound like, are people going to be wearing hockey helmets if they've got this disease? Or
Well, it's a challenge, yeah, because you are at super high risk for falls. So not only that, often when you try to do something,
So
You
me
freeze.
thinking my video is frozen, but it's actually you that's frozen.
I quit moving, and my body can't find the next piece of moving. So all of a sudden I freeze. And it's like I could be halfway to sitting down and I'm stuck in halfway to sitting down. I could be trying to drop the the trash bag in the trash can, and I'm just standing there. And if you approach me and you get distressed with me, it doesn't help me to drop the trash can, but trash bag. But what can happen is I can startle out of it and then again falls. So falls with progressive supranuclear palsy is pretty common. And so people do want to protect the head, the shoulders, that kind of thing. But the challenge is I'm often young onset, only in my early to mid to late 60s. And it doesn't like hit all at once. So all of a sudden I'm falling when I do tennis. I'm reaching up and whoa, what just happened? And so it comes and it goes. It's not like a solid onset that every time I do it, it happens. But you start to notice some things. You would also look at, I have more trouble if I try to walk backwards, if I try to reach up, but my falls typically are all backwards falls. And that's one of the indicators that what I have is probably more likely supranuclear palsy. And then there's also this sudden shift in emotional, where I didn't used to have that kind of high variability. You shut up, you're a friggin' idiot. And it's like, holy moly, what is going on? And it has to do with that wiring in that supranuclear area. That's where the wiring for emotional control comes. And so I've lost my control mechanism. And so I'm off the handle. And then I could go flat. So it's like, what the heck is going on here? But if you use medications to try to suppress my emotional distress, you increase the risk of trauma due to falls. And then I start often having problems with coughing or choking or swallowing because my changes in my speech volume, my rhythm, I can't get it. Can't. I know. So I have trouble. You'll see more trouble around swallowing thin liquids first, and then food, having problems. I get it stuck, and then I don't know what to do. I don't tend to be a spit it out kind of person. For most people with supranuclear palsy, they just get stuck. We also do not see tremor with supranuclear palsy. And with Parkinson's, we have that resting tremor phenomena on typically in one part. And with Lewy body, we see more of a intention tremor, that when I intend to do something. But with this palsy, with the supranuclear palsy, I don't have much of a tremor. It's just I get stuck. Unfortunately, it gets often confused with Parkinson's. And so people tie the levodopa, kind of the dopamine enhancers to see if you could get more. It doesn't work. It doesn't make a difference for them.
So in a care facility of, say, 200 residents, how many people would likely be in there? Like, is this something that's urgent that we should be talking to all of the homes? How rare is this? It sort of sounds like we got a big hill in front of us.
Well, it's a very rare one. I mean, so like 1 in 1,000. So, but I mean, so you'd have to have a couple homes to find somebody. But if you do find somebody, wow, I mean, it would change their life dramatically if we knew about it and we responded as though we knew about it, because it is not Parkinson's. It is not Lewy body. It is not a frontal temporal dementia. It is not ALS. It is not. So there's so many things it is not, and you have a very short window to figure this out. on average, when the symptoms start appearing, it is not uncommon for life to only last 3 to 5 years. So we go from living at home with my family to and falls, lots of falls, and lots of injuries. So the sooner we could start looking at, okay, how do we clear an environment? How do we create a space? How do we get the right helpers in place? How do we position everything so it's here, but also not position anything down here because I'm not going to notice it? How do we get, so we raise turrets, table surfaces. We want to raise the eating surface so I'm eating like this from a plate this high, because if I do this, I might miss the food entirely, or I might have more trouble with my swallowing. So unfortunately, because it's so rare, people think, well, I mean, we're never going to see that. And it's like, until you do. And people can also have another dementia plus supranuclear palsy, which makes it even more tricky.
So is this available on a DVD, or is this something that people should make an appointment and talk to Teepa about to find out, whether they need a special assistance through this, or how are you dealing with this?
Yeah, because it is so unique and so rare, and it is different. It almost always takes someone who's got sort of extra expertise in this area to give you some options that you could look at, some explore, to build a team that's going to be able to handle this, or to build a family into preparation. The good news is it's not typically genetic, it's spontaneous. The bad news is you spontaneous. So getting ready for this ride, because this is a rapid ride, and noticing what's unique and different. We do have one older clip that we did, other than the time with Teepa that you mentioned. We do have one older clip that happened when we were doing the Different Dementias conference, which was a few years ago. Um, and we do have a sheet of information that we're happy to share out with folks. Mayo Clinic, there's many groups around that have some core information, but wanting to really pull together information for people so you could at least start from a basic appreciation for, could this be what I'm looking at? Or rule it out. But if you do think this is what you're looking at, it's like, ooh, we're going to need some extra help. And I would say, yeah, you do. So let's have a conversation perhaps to get started.
Teepa, thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
You've been listening to the Dementia Care Partners podcast, brought to you by Positive Approach to Care. For more information on today's topic or many others, go to teepasnow.com.